Hi everyone, and welcome to this free live lesson on DET VIP. This is a writing lesson to help you improve your writing score on the Duolingo English Test. I've got 3 tips for you today. Don't forget, this is an interactive live lesson, so write your answers in the chat and I'll do my best to respond. So let's get to it. This is going to be an interactive lesson. I'm going to be asking you questions and I want you to write your answers in the chat. Let's make this fun and engaging rather than me just lecturing to you. No one likes that. All right, so 3 tips. Firstly, I have a task for you just to test your knowledge of the Duolingo English test. How many writing questions are there on the DET? How many? Please write it in the chat. Sonia said 5. When I say writing, I mean like pure writing, not necessarily like a dictation, but ones that test your writing skills. Lots of 4s, 1 6, one said more than 3. All right, 3, 4, 2, 3, lots of numbers here, but you are almost all of you are in the right area. Yeah, lots of 3s and 4s. The correct answer is 4. There are actually 4 pure writing questions, ones that test your writing skills. Of course, some of them where you're just typing, like the typing the missing word, fill in the gaps. That's not really testing your writing, that's testing your vocabulary. But there are 4 pure writing questions. We have interactive writing, which has 2 parts. Then we have write about the photo, the writing sample, and then the last part of interactive listening, which is the summary. I think it's called summarize the conversation. So these are the 4 writing questions on the Duolingo English test. Quite many, actually. So for interactive writing, you get it 1 time on the test, but there are 2 parts. For write about the photo, you actually have to write about 3 photographs. So that's quite tricky. Write and sample, just 1. And interactive listening, there are 2 summaries to write. So like all English tests, IELTS, TOEFL, etc., writing is a big part of your exam. So you need to know how to write your answers well. Not just well, but how to write it so that Duolingo or the other exams understand it and know that you are able to write your answers in English well, hitting certain points. Okay, quick question. Which one for you is the most difficult? I know which one is difficult for me, but what about you? You can write it the number or just write the name of the question. Okay. Writing sample, lots of people wrote interactive listening part. Oh, interesting. Not many people are writing interactive writing. For me, I think that's the most difficult, but maybe not for everyone. Yeah, lots of people are put in the writing sample, number 3. That it is tricky. You have to write a 5-minute answer, 1 paragraph, between around 70 words would be good. What makes it really stressful is that that question type is scored by the Duolingo test, but also the universities you're applying to can see your answer. So that, I guess, adds a lot more pressure. Okay. Okay, so before I jump into the tips, we're going to talk firstly about the key points. So we've looked at the different types of writing questions, but how is your writing scored? Does anyone know? You can write in the chat. In what ways do you think your writing is scored? What is Duolingo looking for? So to give you one quick, easy answer, it's your grammar, of course. Is your writing using correct grammar? But it's a bit deeper than that. Okay, I'm looking at your answers. Vocabulary, grammar, length, correct spelling, correct ideas, structure, advanced words, ideas again, literacy, word choice, complexity. Yeah, you were all answering correctly. It is actually assessed on these points. You can find it on the official Duolingo test guide. Now, I hope you've all downloaded this guide. It's on the official DET website. Give me a thumbs up if you've downloaded and read this. It's on the official website, not my website, the official one. So go to englishtest.det.com or something like that. And then you can find the official guide. It's really informative. That should be essential reading for you. But anyway, on page 35, it tells you what the scoring criteria is. And they call it an open response question type. These are basically the production score questions. So all of the writing and all of the speaking questions. And it tells you here, this is the scoring criteria. I'll make it a bit bigger for you guys. So you have these points: content, discourse coherence, lexis, which is vocabulary, grammar, fluency, and pronunciation. Of course, fluency and pronunciation are for speaking, not for writing. So for writing, we're looking at these points here. Content is, does your answer answer the question you're given? So does your answer actually respond to the question, or are you talking about something different? If you talk about something different, you'll lose points. So try to answer the question directly. Usually, even if the question has several parts, try to answer all parts of the question. Discourse coherence, there's a bit tricky one to understand. It's basically, you can read it here. It's the clarity, cohesion, progression of ideas, and the structure. And this is actually for the writing questions only. So you can see here that discourse coherence means the structure, the organization, the clarity, and the clarity of your answer. Are you writing with a good structure? Number 3, vocabulary. Do you use precise words and a range of words? Something you shouldn't do is to repeat the words over and over again. And of course, grammar. Grammar is an essential part of every language, especially in writing, because it's very clear if you're making a mistake. Speaking is a lot more spontaneous and a bit more messy. So if you make grammar mistakes when you're speaking, that's not as bad. But making grammar mistakes when you're writing, that's not good. Shouldn't do that. Okay, so moving on to tip 1. Here is a sample answer and a sample question. This is a real question from the Duolingo practice test. So there's something wrong with this answer. So this is task 3. You have 30 seconds. Read this answer. Tell me what is wrong with it based on the points we just talked about. Okay. Amro said there's no intro. Yeah, right. Rasya said there's no counter arguments. You don't need to put counter arguments into your answer. It's just something you can do, but you don't need to do that. So that's not really. Rafi said coherence. Yeah, Shabaza said started from examples. No topic sentence, wrong order, no conclusion. Yeah, you've all got the idea. I can see here. Basically, this answer, when you read it, is it easy to read and understand, or is it a bit confusing? It's a mess. Yeah, messy, confusing. And that is because it lacks in discourse coherence, right? It's just using a confusing structure. There's no logic with how the sentences are combined, so it's lacking in discourse coherence. Even though the sentences grammatically are correct and the vocabulary is correct, no spelling mistakes, and they are related to the same topic, which is about movies, in this case, Korean movies, it still is really confusing to read because it has no logical structure and it lacks discourse coherence. So as you can see here, would this be a high scoring answer or a low scoring answer? What do you think, guys? Yeah, low, of course. So do you write your answers like this? I hope not. Everyone says, no, good. Don't write your answers like this. Instead, you want to follow a simple structure. And you can use a simple structure for interactive writing part 1 and part 2, and also for the writing sample question. Okay, so tip one is to use a simple structure. So tell me, I've covered this in my YouTube videos a lot, but what is a simple structure to use for a paragraph like you have to do for interactive writing and the writing sample? What would be a simple structure? How would you begin your answer and how would you progress through your ideas? Okay, we've got a few answers coming up. So Zohra says write in an introduction and then the body of your paragraph with a concluding sentence. I agree. Rossa says intro, main paragraphs, and conclusion. I think I know what you mean, so I agree. I would reword the middle bit, but I think you have the right idea. Shabazz says start with a thesis. Yeah, you can. If you get a kind of argument question, you should start by saying your opinion, your thesis. Angela said PPF. Personally, I think the PPF, the past, present, and future technique works better for speaking, but maybe you can try that. Okay, I see lots of different answers here. Yeah, you've all got, most of you have the correct idea. So I'm just going to run through my simple structure for you. And this is not mine. This is just a very simple way to organize an academic paragraph. So you can do this, of course, on the Duolingo test. You can do this when you go to university and you have to write an essay or an answer. Then you just follow this really simple structure. First one is a topic sentence. This is really important because it outlines what the rest of your paragraph is going to be about. If you just start with the main body or your ideas or your examples, as you've seen for the previous answer, it's confusing. So if you start with a topic sentence, it makes the rest of your paragraph clear and easy to understand. For example, there are many things I have learned from watching Korean films. Okay, that's my topic sentence. What am I going to talk about next? Of course, I'm going to talk about what I learned, right? Of course. This is good because it's clear. This is a clear topic sentence. Then you want to move on to your supporting ideas or the main body of your paragraph. I wrote two in this example. So I have firstly, which is also a linking phrase, which kind of signals that I'm going to talk about my first idea. There's lots of linking phrases. Like I say, firstly, first and foremost, to begin. There's lots of different ways to do that, but usually we use a linking phrase in order to signal and make it clear that I'm now going to talk about my first idea. So firstly, the most interesting thing I have learned about Korean eating Firstly, the most interesting thing I have learned is about Korean eating customs. That's my supporting idea. It's very short, but you haven't got long on the Duolingo test, only 5 minutes, so you can't write lots. For example, then I'm going to talk about my, examples which back up my opinion. Down here, we talk about also another linking phrase which signals I'm going to talk about my next idea. What other words can I use instead of also? Secondary, or secondly, second, moreover, additionally. Furthermore, there's so many, so many you can use. But it's important to use one because it signals that you are now moving on to your next idea and it makes it easy to read, which is all about discourse coherence. In addition, it's a good answer. Thanks. And then step three is a concluding sentence. Okay, so here we just wrap up everything we've talked about. Basically, you use a linking phrase like to sum up, in conclusion, all in all, and then you basically paraphrase the introduction, the topic sentence. You rewrite it in a slightly different way. Easy, right? Easy or difficult? Let me know. Is that hard or easy? Yeah. Lots of people write it easy. Some people write it hard. Okay, so the structure is easy to follow. And if you practice this structure when you're preparing for your test. When you're writing your answer, you can kind of, it makes life easier for you because you don't have to think about how to write your answer. You know how to write, then you just have to think about the ideas, which saves time. Okay, some quick questions. Melina, sorry if I get your names wrong, said, this is a really good question. Should we separate the parts into different paragraphs or write it as one? Personally, I don't think it matters. I like to write it as one because for the Duolingo test, you're not really writing an essay. An essay is like the IELTS and TOEFL exams where you got to write for 40 minutes. You have so much longer. For the Duolingo test, you only have 5 minutes to write your answer. So I think it doesn't matter. Basically, they're testing your paragraph writing skills. That's my opinion. But my answer to you is I don't think it matters. You can write it any way you choose to. I prefer it in a paragraph. And if you go on the Duolingo test YouTube page and you can see some people taking the official test, they almost always write it in one paragraph. And that's the official from the official website, official YouTube page. So I think it's better just to write one paragraph. But I don't think it matters. Sam said, can you only write one idea? Yes, you can. You can only write one idea is fine. However, Sam, it's important. If you only write one idea, your word count will be less. And you need to get at least 50 words. So think about that. Writing two simple ideas like this, simple idea, one sentence with an example, is an easy way to get more than 50 words. Someone said, can I please give the overview again? I will review before we move on to tip number 2. So start off with a topic sentence. This introduces your main idea and it lets the reader or Duolingo know what you're going to write about. Then you go over your supporting ideas. You use linking phrases to signal you're talking about your ideas. These are related closely to your topic sentence. And then lastly, you conclude. Use a phrase like to sum up or in conclusion, and then you just wrap it up. So you kind of rephrase or rewrite your introduction sentence. Someone said their typing speed is very slow. Yeah, it is. If that it can be. Mine too. But one way to practice that is to use a website, something like 10fastfingers.com. 10, the number 10, fast fingers, fast fingers, is free and it helps you with your typing. Okay, we're going to move on, otherwise we'll spend a long time. Tip number 2. I'll answer your questions at the end. Tip number 2. It's an obvious one, but pay attention to your grammar. You need to demonstrate to Duolingo that you are able to write correct English sentences without many mistakes. And also, you can use different grammatical structures. That's really important. What is the Duolingo English test? It's an English test, right? So they are looking and they are trying to examine how good your English skills are. And in writing in particular, grammar is very important. Obviously. Not surprising news, right? Please don't link WhatsApp groups in the chat. This is not for that. Okay, next one. So, what about grammar? What should you do? Well, you want to make mostly error-free sentences. Okay, if you maybe your English is your second language, so it's not easy for you to make error-free sentences all the time. I get that. I understand. I'm also learning a second language and I make mistakes all the time. But you need to try to. Basically, take your time, proofread your answers, and try to make error-free sentences. On top of that, you also need to use a range or a variety of different grammatical structures, some simple grammatical structures and some complex structures. Because you need to show Duolingo two things. One, you can write without making mistakes, and two, you know how to use easy grammar and difficult grammar. It's an English test, right? That's what you got to do. Same for IELTS, same for TOEFL. And when you go to university to, write good essays or good answers for your professors, then you need to also use this type of grammar. All right, just to make I put this in a ugly format just so I'm going to read it out to you just so it's clear. So you can read this with me. So a simple sentence. These are normally short sentences with just one idea. Like, I like English. Okay, that's a very simple structure. It has one idea or one thought in a sentence. A complex sentence is a bit more complex, a bit more complicated. So these sentences have two or more, could be three or four, parts or ideas that are connected. And we use words like because, although, or when to connect these ideas. Just for example, I like English because it helps me talk to more people. That is a complex sentence, even though this is quite easy one. This is considered a complex sentence because it has two parts to it. I like English. It helps me talk to more people, right? So using both types of sentences in your writing shows that you know how to put ideas together and make your writing more interesting. It also shows that you're comfortable with different grammar rules. To do well on the test, try to mix simple sentences and more complex ones like these. You only have you only have 5 minutes for the writing, for the longest one. So you can't write 10 complex sentences, but you should try to put one, at least one, in your answers. Okay, so here's a task 5. Tell me, is this a high scoring answer? Why or why not? Now, if you joined my VIP lesson for members only last week, we've already done this, but if you didn't, if you're new here, what do you think? Is this a high scoring answer? Yes or no? Based on grammar. Think about grammar. So lots of no's. Why? Why is this not a high scoring answer? Federico, he knows he joined my lesson last week. Not last week. Sorry, on Monday. Okay, lots of it's very simple answer, simple sentences, no linking phrases. Lots of yeah, I can see in the chat you guys know, which is good. So this one only uses simple sentences. So even though there is no spelling mistake, there are no spelling mistakes, there are no grammatical mistakes, every sentence here is grammatically correct and it's related to the topic, so it's for content, it's fine. It's not a good answer because it's just full of simple sentences. And again, tell me, is this easy to read or difficult to read? Yeah, maybe I should rephrase that. Is this smooth to read, or is it a bit like ugly? It's easy to read. I asked you the wrong question. Is it smooth? No, it's not smooth. We don't like just to put simple sentences together because actually it looks like bullet points. It doesn't flow at all. It's quite annoying, said Ranim. Yes, I agree. So let's make it better. Okay, so let's make this better. So this is my example. I live in an apartment which I really like. It's modern and conveniently located. It is in the city center and close to my school. In fact, it only takes me 10 minutes to walk there. Since the apartment is a bit small, I'd like to find a bigger one in the future. Is this better? Much better, right? Much better, much smoother, sounds more natural, and higher scoring because it has different types of grammar in the answer. So let's go through a few of them. I live in an apartment, comma, which I really like. What type of grammar is this? Which I really like with a comma. Any grammar, any grammar nerds here? What would you call this grammar? Yeah, it's a relative clause. Yeah, which, that, who, when, with a comma, we call them relative clauses. So that's better, right? Relative clauses add more ideas, kind of a bit more nuance and a bit more ideas to your sentence. Okay, next one. It's modern and conveniently located. So using and to link things that are related. It. What word is it here? What am I referring to? What does it mean right here? Yeah, it means my apartment, which is the reference. So using a reference like it makes it sound easier. If I said here, my apartment is in the city center, it sounds again a bit strange because I've already mentioned it here. I don't need to mention my apartment again. It's difficult, kind of over unnecessary. So instead, I'm sure you do in your language too, we use references. It is a reference word for my apartment. Makes it sound smoother. Again, and in fact, used just to kind of state an example. And the last sentence actually is a complex sentence because it has two ideas, two thoughts or two parts linked together. So since the apartment is a bit small, I'd like to find a bigger one in the future. You have two parts. I'd like to find a bigger one in the future is the independent clause. This is the clause which can be a sentence by itself. Since the apartment is a bit small is what we call the dependent clause. This, you can't say since the apartment is a bit small, full stop or period. That doesn't work, right? So this is the dependent clause because it's dependent on this blue one, the independent clause. And we link them together using the word since. Any question? Quick question. Ali said, can I use its? Yeah, you can. You can. You know, normally when we're writing in a more formal way, we don't use contractions, but sometimes you do. You can do it though. Like I did here, I'd. So yeah, you can do that. All right, so how about in this example? This was my sample answer for you. This answer actually has 90% simple sentences, and then it has one complex grammar sentence. So can you find the complex sentence in this answer and write it in the chat or write a bit of it? Maggie said, should we put I would instead of I'd? You can. We don't need to. I would. I'd means I would, but it's kind of the contraction. So where is the complex sentence in this answer? You can just write the first part if you want to. Federico got it correct. The last one, not really. Yeah, so almost everyone's getting it correct. The complex sentence in this sample answer is in orange right now. Although I am studying Korean, watching Korean movies has taught me a lot of spoken expressions that do not appear in textbooks. This is a complex sentence because it has two parts, two thoughts. Although I'm studying Korean, number one, and watching Korean movies has taught me a lot of spoken expressions, part two. Using the word although as the linking word. This is called a subordinating conjunction grammar. Just these words are used to link two ideas together and it makes the sentence complex. Just a quick analysis. This is my sample answer. I wrote this. I think this is a pretty good answer. You'll get a high score if you did this in the exam. This sample answer only has one complex sentence in it, right? Just one. The rest are simple. So you don't need to use many. And don't try to use too many because that gets very difficult and you might make mistakes. Instead, try to use just one and use it correctly. Okay? That's my suggestion. At least one. You should do one, at least one, but you don't need to do more than two or three, really. Yeah, I'll leave this for you. I'm going to put the PDF in VIP so you can download it later, but I'll leave this there for you to read it by yourself. So, subordinating conjunctions are the words that link parts, two thoughts together to make a complex sentence. Here are a bunch of them. If you join VIP, we will be doing a full lesson on this in, well, I think next week, actually. So next Thursday, we will do a full lesson on complex and compound sentences using these as examples. So if you want to join VIP, you can, if you want to take more lessons with me. I'll do a free lesson like this once a month, but then I do lessons twice a week on VIP if you become a member. We've had some good lessons. Some people are here. I can see them chatting. Federico, no, compound's a bit different, but I'll explain that in a future lesson. Compound sentences are actually a bit easier. Okay, guys, so homework for you. I was going to see if we have time today, but we're already halfway through the lesson, so we'll skip this. But in the PDF, you can find this and try this for homework. And if you write it in the chat on VIP, even if you're not a member, you can still chat. I will check it for you. Okay, last tip, guys, is to understand the requirements. So this is essential. When you take any exam, one of the preparation tips is to know the test well. The test is like a puzzle. You have to know it well. Can't just rely on your English. Okay, so some knowledge questions for you. How many words or sentences do you need to write for each writing question? And how many minutes do you have? Like I mentioned, you should know everything about the test before you take it. That will give you the best chance to score high, being very comfortable and familiar with the test format, as well as, of course, improving your English. So, task, write it in the chat. These answers, I will, of course, show you the answer in a second. And if you have questions, I will be answering all of your questions soon, so don't worry about that. Okay, I see lots of answers coming through. How many people are we? We have 105 people. Wow, amazing. Welcome all. Thank you for joining me. The recording of this will be available. I'll upload it as soon as I download and edit some weird parts. But it'll be available tonight, and I will email you when it's ready. Okay. I see lots and lots of answers. Thank you, guys. All right, let's just go through together and you can check for yourself. So, you should know the test, like I mentioned. One of the best ways to prepare for any exam is to understand the requirements and the time limits, etc. So for interactive writing, there are two parts. Part one, the main answer, and part two is the follow-up response. So for interactive writing, you should at least write 50 and 30 words, and you have 5 minutes for part one and 3 minutes for part two. So write at least 50 words. This a year ago, this was actually written down. Write at least 50 words on this topic. They got rid of that now, but still, I think the requirement is still there. So you need to write at least 50 words. To get a high score, you should write more. I think between 70 and 110 would be a really good range. And then spending the rest of your time proofreading. So that's for part one. For part two, between Between 30 and 70 would be great. If you can do somewhere between there, 30 and 70 words, that would be plenty. A lot of you have mentioned earlier you find it very difficult to write that much. And yeah, I totally agree. It's not easy. You should practice a lot before you take the test. Get used to typing quickly in English, thinking about different types of questions. A lot of the questions are maybe something you've never really thought about before. So you have to get used to it. Really take lots and do lots of sample questions. That's really helpful. And learn structures. Take lessons with me here on VIP if you want to, or just watch my YouTube videos. That's also helpful. So, prepare a lot. You can't just take these tests and expect to do well. Preparation is very, very important. Okay, for writing sample, you have 5 minutes to write. And again, I think you should aim for between 50 and 100 words. Now, this one is particularly important because the universities you apply to can see your answer. Now, I don't know if they will. I used to work at a university, and when we get our applicants to vet and check, like people, you kind of go through it quite quickly. I don't know if they really will read your answer, but it's a possibility. So you should be prepared that they will definitely, you should think that they'll read it. So when you write your answer, you take extra care. So aim for between 50 and 100 words and spend at least 1 minute proofreading. Write about the photo, you have to the requirement is one complete sentence at least. And you only have 1 minute. It's very short. However, I recommend writing between 2 and 3 sentences. You might think that's impossible, but I have a structure and a system you can use which can help you write that within 1 minute without being too difficult for you. In October on VIP, we had our Describe a Photo series, and I taught my students in VIP the structure and the system. They did practice, and a lot of them found it very helpful. If you would like to join, you can join. I'll do that again in the future. If not, I have YouTube videos covering all this stuff as well. So, but you need to write one complete sentence. That is the requirement. But uh, if you want to get a better score, 2 or 3 is beneficial. And summarize the conversation. Again, one complete sentence, but writing more is better. And you have 75 seconds. There is again a system you can use. I'll just briefly mention it now, but I'm going to cover it in 2 weeks' time on VIP in my live lesson. But the system goes like this: a general summary of the conversation, the details of the conversation, and what was the outcome. If you think of those 3 points, then I would say you can write 2 or 3 sentences relatively easily within 75 seconds. And that's it. Those were my 3 tips for today. What time? 1:40, so 40 minutes, not too bad. So we'll do a Q&A. I'll do it for 10 to 15 minutes. There are a lot of people here, 107 people. So if I am if I don't answer all of your questions, please don't be offended. I'll stop sharing so you see me bigger. All right, so in the chat, please write your questions and I'll go through them as much as many as I can. Where are we? So I saw a good question about vocabulary. Who just said that? Sarah, who is a VIP member. Hi, I'll see you tomorrow in tomorrow's lesson too. Sarah said, in my writing, in my answer, I didn't use any advanced vocabulary. Can you write like that and get a high score? Yeah, for sure. You do not need to use fancy words. Your words need to be related to the topic, and they need to be specific, need to be used correctly in the correct verb tense if it's a verb, or in the correct sentence structure. And you should use a variety of vocabulary. If you know kind of fancy words and you can use them well, then go ahead. But you don't really need to use really fancy words like plethora or whatever, abstain. You don't need to do that. Okay, Tracy said she's scoring 145 on the practice test. Am I ready to take the real test? Simple answer is yeah. That's very, very high practice score. I think you're ready. It depends what score you need. If you need perfect score, maybe not, but no one gets a perfect score. So I think you are ready, Tracy. I don't like to make predictions about your score, but if you're doing that, then you can't get more ready than that. So good luck and good job getting that high score. That's very high score. Ahmed said his problems are finding ideas in speaking and writing. Yeah, that's a really common problem, Ahmed. In my last free lesson, which I did a month ago, you can find the recording on VIP. I talked about this in detail. But basically, Ahmed, so many students who take the Duolingo test or IELTS test or TOEFL test or PTE, whatever test, they really overcomplicate the speaking and writing questions. They think like I have to write like the best ideas. You don't. Keep your ideas really, really simple, but make sure your ideas make sure that you are able to talk and write and speak about your ideas in depth, in details. The Duolingo test is not a knowledge test. It's an English test. So your ideas on a topic can be really easy, and I recommend that. So don't stress about that. Fatima said, is it better to write one long sentence or two short sentences when describing a photo? Well, Fatima, that's a good question. Hmm. I'm going to tell you something different. I teach this structure where you write a general summary of the photo first, something like this photo shows two boats on a blue lake on a clear sunny day. Just general summary, just very broad overview of what you see. And then your second sentence then talks about who is doing what. So what are the actions in the photograph? So maybe there are people, there are people having a barbecue. I'm just thinking now, people having a barbecue on the riverbank. And then the third one is what is where. Where are things located in the photograph? So this way you'll use prepositional phrases, something like the boats are sailing down the river, parallel to each other, which means together. So I think that's a better way. I don't think you should think about long or short sentences, but rather the structure. Ali says, let me know the important questions of the Duolingo. They're all important. However, speaking and writing are the most important, in my opinion, because there are 8 of them in total, and they all contribute to your production subscore, which is the most important subscore. So speaking and writing is my opinion, but of course they are all important. Um, wow, someone's got a very long name. Abderrahimi. I'm so sorry. That's wrong, but I hope you know who you are. He or she said, I had a test and I got 90. Can I reach 100 in 3 days? Hmm, I don't like to make predictions. I'm sorry. I really don't know. If you practice and study a lot, maybe, but it's very difficult for me to make predictions. Uh, Alia says, how can you practice for filling the blanks? Reading lots of news articles is really good for practicing because the more you read, the more you'll be able to recognize what words fit where in sentences. And then when you do fill in the blanks, you'll know it quickly and naturally, which is the aim. Learning vocabulary is important because it's a vocabulary question, and practicing a lot. It's almost like a puzzle. The more you do one type of puzzle, the better you get at it. So practicing a lot. And you can use my practice platform or you can use the free practice on Duolingo website. Your choice. Um, okay. I'm gonna wow, so many questions. I'll go for 5 more minutes. If you I'm not gonna answer any questions about like what score will I get or can I get my score in a couple of days because it's very difficult for me to make predictions when I've never spoken to you. So I'm gonna skip that. I'm sorry, but I don't like to make predictions because I don't know. I can't give you a 100% answer. So it's not fair for me to tell you yes you can do it and then you don't do it, or no you can't do it and you postpone your test. I'm not going to make predictions. Sorry. Where are we? Just going to find some interesting questions. Again, Muhammad said he can't find, he doesn't think of ideas when writing or speaking. What should he do? Like I mentioned earlier, you need to keep your ideas simple. You don't need to think of difficult ideas. The questions on the Duolingo test are not that difficult. So you just think of simple ideas about them, and then you can talk more about your simple ideas. That's the best approach. Um, where am I? Oh, so Lena said, can she look at the keyboard when typing? Yes, you can. You can look down and type. That's okay. You shouldn't look at your keyboard for like the speaking questions because you should, look at the screen. But when you're typing, you can do that. And nowadays, the new update means you need to record your screen and keyboard with your phone. So like they know if you're cheating or not. So but anyway, you can definitely look at your keyboard. Personally, I also can't type like this. I'm an old man. I have to look down all the time. Melina said, is it necessary to use idioms? No, not necessary at all. Don't use idioms unless you are confident with that, with the idioms you're using. Idioms are very context specific, so don't worry about that. However, when you're speaking, things like phrasal verbs, that's really good. Phrasal verbs like, for example, bump into. Like, I bumped into my friends and I was surprised. All right, bump into, that's a good phrasal verb. These types of chunks, collocations or chunks, whatever you want to call it, these are better than big idioms like it's raining cats and dogs. Like no one really says that anymore. Uh, Armo says if he pays for the test today, can you do it anytime? I believe you have 21 days. After you've paid, you have 21 days to take it. So, but check the Duolingo website. But you can take it anytime within 21 days, I think. Uh, Ellie says she wants to know about the writing the photo because it's difficult. Yeah, that's a tricky one. Um, check my YouTube videos where I cover a structure you can use. Or if you want to join VIP, then we have a full course which outlines how to write about a photo really effectively and quickly, which is what you've got to do. Also on VIP, this course gives you lots and lots of examples and lots of photos for you to practice with. If you're a member, you can type your answers and I'll check it for you and give you feedback. But just a quick summary, you need to write a general summary, think about who is doing what in the photo, like what are the actions, and think about where things are located. Like there's a church in front of the mountain, like that kind of thing. Nuna says, if you don't understand the question, what do you do? That's okay, that's a big problem. So if you don't understand the question, then yeah, that's not good. You should try. If you can understand the question, that's much better. If you can't, you need to focus on trying to figure out what the main topic is. So if the topic is about the environment or school or films, then try to catch that. Like, what is the main topic? And then you could speak or write about just that topic. Even though it doesn't answer the question specifically, if you are writing about the topic, that's better. You should not write about a random topic. That's bad. But answering the question fully is perfect. If you don't know, just think about the topic. That's okay. Not great, but it's okay. All right. Where are we? So many questions. Federico says, can you share a template for the second part of interactive writing? Uh, Personally, it's the same. I don't. I've looked at so many follow-up questions, and actually, To be honest, the structure is the same. Topic sentence, one idea, concluding sentence. The only thing that's different is you're able to kind of refer back to your previous part one answer. You can say where you could say something like, as I discussed earlier, and then you can kind of rephrase your idea. But the structure is almost the same because it is just again, you're writing a short academic formal paragraph. Okay, guys, I'm so sorry. I've 74 messages I haven't read. Wow, it's too many. I'm gonna do one more and then we'll wrap up. If I skipped your question, I'm really sorry. I will upload this recording as soon as I've downloaded it and edited a few chunks, especially the introduction where I was waiting for you guys. But I will download this and upload this recording, and also the PDF I use. Of course, you can download that. Okay, last question. This is a good one. Angel said, "Can I use abbreviations and word contractions in speaking and writing?" The answer is yes, you can. Definitely in speaking, that's encouraged. In writing, normally in formal writing, you don't use contractions. However, I think the Duolingo test is not as formal as like an academic research paper. So I would say yes, you can. Can you use wireless mouse? Yeah, you can. Yes, you can use a wireless mouse. Ali says, does fill in the blanks contribute to writing score? No, it does not. It is literacy and comprehension scores. Okay. All right, guys. I'm gonna finish now. It's gonna so many questions, but I really thank you. I really mean it. Thank you for joining. I hope this was helpful for you. Just a heads up, I will be doing another live lesson tomorrow, but it's for VIP members only. If you would like to join these lessons, please think about signing up. We have courses, PDFs, essay banks, and live lessons with me. These live lessons on for members is we get only about 10 to 20 people join, so I am able to kind of give you feedback more directly. So think about it. If you want to do that, if you don't want to, I will keep making lots and lots of free YouTube videos. I got another one coming on Monday for you guys. I do my best to help everyone. Uh, Paradeep says he has VIP. Yeah, you can join tomorrow. Absolutely. I hope to see you there. It's at 1 p.m. again. Tomorrow's lesson is all about the topic sentence of an academic paragraph. We'll go through different ways of writing your topic sentence, and I'll give you questions and I'll check your answers. That's the main part. I will go through and give you feedback as best as I can. So this month of November is all about writing. It's a writing series. In December, then we'll start our speaking series. So if that's something you would like to join, then go ahead. If not, no worries. Um, Tomorrow's the session. Yeah, I always save the sessions and I upload them. So yeah, I do that for every single lesson. Even this one, it'll be uploaded. You can download and watch it for free. I might even put this on YouTube if it looks okay. Um, yeah. Okay. I hope this was helpful. Was it good? Was it useful for you guys? Give me a thumbs up if you think it was helpful for you. I will do these once a month. Thanks, Mary. Guys, I really appreciate it. Thank you again for joining. I will download this recording and upload it. It'll be in a couple hours. It takes me a while to download and re-upload. I live in the UK, in a small rural part, so the internet's not very fast here. But okay, guys, I'm going to go now. Thank you so much. Um, you can download it on vip.detready.com. Okay, see you guys. Thank you so much. Take care.